Whether you're sitting in your PJs with dirty diapers all around you, or you're a working mom on the way to lead a big corporate meeting, I'm here to tell you that your life has more meaning than you think. You're all the things that you are, but you're also a mother. A mother who has been called and hand-chosen by God to pour into His next generation. You get to raise His children. Motherhood is a ministry, and that's why I've pulled some of the most amazing Christian mothers I know to pour into me and you and biblically equipped us with all the tools and resources to raise our children. So get ready, because the Motherhood is My Ministry podcast series starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Chosen Ministries podcast. My name is Kell, and I am your host, and we are diving into my brand new series, Motherhood is My Ministry. Today, I have my guest, Des Brown, with me today. I just had to have you because, one, you are a working mom, and also she does so many things. She works 2 different types of jobs. She is a nurse, but she also has her I'm not educated, master's degree?
Yes.
Master's degree, and so now she teaches nurses how to be nurses, right? That's how it transfers in my brain.
Yep.
And she's also a makeup artist. She also has 2 daughters. She serves at our church on the worship team. She does so many things, but she's always like smiling, and I was like teasing her. I'm like, you always look like you're good. Like you just have the joy of the Lord. She hosts people all the time. She does all these things, but you do it so well. And so that's why I was like, I need to have you here. I need to hear your secrets. And we are going to cover all things about just having a busy schedule, time management. Also, if you've experienced mom guilt because you have a bunch of different things going on, because I feel like as mothers, we still have, like me, like multi-passionate type of people where there's still things you want to pursue, things you want to do, but you're also a mom and you're making all of this work. So that's kind of the heart and theme of today's podcast. So tell us a little bit more about you, kind of a background.
Okay. I actually grew up going to church with my neighbor. Basically, I grew up seeking the Lord on my own. Mm-hmm. I'm so thankful that like my neighbors were so willing to take me, because that was like how I became a Christian. I wouldn't have been able to even step foot into church if it weren't for them. Going through life, I knew I wanted to do something with children, but not necessarily like I couldn't pinpoint it probably until I got into high school, and that's when I knew like I want to be a postpartum nurse. So nobody in my family has at that point had a degree. So I'm the first person that I'm the first person that went to college and got my bachelor's degree in nursing. While I was in school that first year, I met my husband. I was married at the age of 20. I was also still finishing nursing school. I was a junior in college whenever we got married, and then quickly after I graduated, I developed a passion for artistry, specifically makeup. This past year I've had 45 weddings, so it's super busy. And then not too soon after that, I had my firstborn, Breckley. She is 6. And I was still continuing to be a nurse full-time and also do makeup full-time. So it was just a super busy time. Eventually, throughout my nursing career, the Lord just put a passion for teaching students on my heart. And just in general, education has always been something that has been so near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And so I really felt the Lord pushing me further in my calling and my purpose. So I decided to apply in the graduate program at Webster University. And I recently, just this past December, finished with my master's degree in nurse education.
Ooh,
so
that's so awesome.
I love it. And I seriously love my jobs. I cannot tell you really one thing that I hate about any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get to teach students in the nursing school and in the clinical field, all while doing bedside and being a makeup artist and a mom.
Yeah.
And then, like I forgot to mention, but in the mix of all of that, I had Kendall, my second. She's now 18 months. She's wild and crazy, and it's just Breckley and Kendall are in 2 totally different seasons of their lives.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And then you know, making time for your spouse in the mix of all of that it's just been so incredible.
Yeah. It's a lot. But I feel like you've always done it so well.
Yes.
Yeah. So with all of the busyness and all the things you do, how do you manage your time?
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good question.
you're manage your time not only with work but with people, because I feel like a lot of times, like, people like me and you, like, we love to work, and so it's really easy to just be like head first and like all in. And for me, I literally, it's almost like a discipline thing that I have to remind myself to get out of the work bubble that I love to be in sometimes.
Yes.
And be like, okay, I need to like get dinner with this person. I need to call this person. I want to like be a really good friend and a good daughter, a good, you know, family member, and manage my time. So what are some of the things that you feel like you do to manage your time with all the things you're doing?
Yeah, so for me, the word of the year has been intentionality. And so with that, my husband and I, we actually sit down once a month. We look at our whole entire schedule for the month. The great thing about working a nursing job is you get to make your schedule 8 to 10 weeks out. So I already know exactly when I'm working, what days I'm working. I also can work around certain days. So jumping back to my husband and I, we sit down once a month and we plan out our whole month. And we make days where we're like, we are blocking these days out. These are for us. These are our family. These are for family days. Specifically, Fridays. We are hardcore family Fridays. We don't do anything else but spend the day, the whole night with family. It could be with the girls and us, or it could be just us, because we need time to refresh and reignite our marriage in order to be able to pour into our girls as parents. So that's how we manage. We sit down and we just literally write out a whole schedule of what we're going to do for the month. Sometimes it's even day to day. But just my mindset really this past year has not so much been about balance as it has been like quality.
Okay.
So like with
that.
my girls, like it's not about the quantity, the amount of time that I spend with people or my girls or my husband. It's about the quality of time. And that has just been so important to me, the quality of time versus the quantity, and just not feeling so pressured to balance everything, because you're going to have to adapt. Day to day, it's going to be so different day to day. And so just learning that it's okay that your schedules change. I still think it's important to be organized and disciplined. You have to be, especially with young kids. And the thing of it is managing your time with people and kids, like, it requires a different you. In this season of my life, you know, where I have a 1-year-old and a 6-year-old, they're in different seasons of their life. So I'm having to not really change who I am, but it's requiring a different me for them individually. Which is like, you know, God has given me a grace for that, because He has designed me uniquely for them and their needs, their wants, and you know, so much more. So that's pretty much how we have learned to manage. And then as far as like friends go, again, it's just being intentional and creating that space to get out of like work mode, because you can't develop true friendships if you're not creating time for it. And people feel valued when you do that. People feel valued when you're intentional with them. And you know, I work really hard to create that space for my friends, even my friends who aren't believers. I want them to know that they are loved by the Lord, and that they are valued, and their friendship matters, and they're so much more than just a mom, than a working mom, than a wife. And it's just nice too, also when you're spending that time with them and being intentional with them, just to be encouraged, because as much as like you're an encourager, like you have to be encouraged as well. So so that's just been my word for the year.
It's so important to make sure we are socializing too,
Yes.
because I feel like, it's easy to just, I'm managing this, I'm getting this done, and then you forget about other things. There is a season, which I actually talked about with Brittany, the last episode that we just did. Sometimes you have to say no to things.
Absolutely.
And that's hard, but also so you can be able to, like you said, fill yourself up so you can pour back out. And some of those things were not taking on as much work, or
Yep.
If you're in a industry like photography or makeup or whatever, like raise your prices so you don't have to work as much, but you
Yes.
can still, have the pay that you need for your family, but you can raise your prices a little bit, and so you can have more time to be with friends and family, because that happened for me the past 2 years. I was just working so hard, didn't manage my time with people, and then I realized I felt like life was just going on without me, relationships were going on without me, and it wasn't anyone's fault but my own, because I wasn't there.
Sure.
And so I was I have to change something, because as a believer, as a Christian, I want to be around people. We're created to be in community. Yes. And so I had to make that decision. I'm not gonna bury myself in work. And the Lord, He will bless my business, I'm believing, and He's gonna do the things that to help us get it done. But right now in this season of life, I think it's important to make sure we're still slowing down, and like you said, spending quality time with people and our children, because I feel you can think, oh, I'm in the room with my kid, but you're scrolling on TikTok when you think you have your time, to yourself, so you're trying to unwind or whatever, but it's those, even if it's 5 minutes,
Yes.
not, you know what I mean, but those little breaks in between that you can really just pour in, play, just be on the ground, playing with Thomas the Choo Choo Train, that, all in is so important, especially with your children. So with all the busyness going on, do you ever ask or hire help when it's it could even be things for the house or with the children, or what does that look like for you? Because I feel I've experienced guilt for hiring help with things, but I know in the end it has helped.
So yes, absolutely yes. And if you don't, I encourage you to do it. For me and my husband personally, we have a very good support system via our family and our church family. And I know that not everybody has that support. And so we don't take it lightly or for granted. And we're so blessed to have, the family and the friends that we have, that they want to be there. They want to help with the kids. And it gives our children an opportunity to really get to experience their family and their friends in a different way than always being at home. But also for my sanity.
Yeah.
I have experienced burnout many of times, not asking for help. And the reason this happens is because when we don't ask for help and we're overwhelmed, we just want to take control over everything. So refusing to let go of control causes burnout, and it's like the cycle repeats. We get overwhelmed, we try to take control, then we're burned out. And it's until you surrender that to the Lord, you're just going to be repeating the cycle. And at the end of the day, what encourages me is that before I was a mother, I was a daughter. And God has reminded me that being a daughter, He's just been so gentle with me and patient with me. He doesn't yell at me. He doesn't get frustrated at me. And He sees me. He sees the state of my heart. He knows my feeling, my every thought. And so He knows exactly what I need. And I do believe that because of that, and knowing the life that He knew that we would live, He has given us just such a great support system that I couldn't be more grateful to have. So I do encourage you moms that if you don't ask for help, you will thank yourselves and the Lord in the long run for your sanity. Because at the end of the day too, you cannot serve your family best if you are burnt out, if you're worn down, if you are weary. And I just encourage you to ask for help, and don't feel guilty for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I've I still feel this way. And we've had a caretaker who's helped with my son since he was 3 months old. He's almost going to be 2. And I always felt like, gosh, I feel bad. Like, technically, I'm almost like a stay-at-home mom because I work from home, but I'm totally not. Like, I'm totally not a stay-at-home mom. But in my head, I'm like, well, I'm home, so I can watch him. But it was just so hard because, like, the quality of my work, and I'm like, I want to make sure my business is healthy. And also, if I'm, like, trying to work but play with him, that's not quality time. Yeah. So, I mean, even just, like, investing, I have, like, 3 days a week with her for, like, 5 hours a day, which isn't a ton of time, but, like, when I'm in that time, I'm disciplined and I get my work done. And then when I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock. Everything goes away. And then I'm back to, like, quality time with my son. But making that investment has been so good for my business and my mental life, but I also feel like I'm a better mom because of it, because then in my head I'm like, okay, is he gonna like take a nap soon so I can get some work done? You know what I mean? So like your brain isn't there. So I feel like a lot of times moms like we're not wanting to like make the investment to like ask for help or hire help, but it's so good, especially if you're a working mom, just to get that work done and get it out of the way. And also I have a friend that she doesn't have the finances to invest in help right now. And so she's worked it out with another family where they kind of trade with the kids. And I think that's awesome and so
There's
smart.
So many different ways that you can.
Because I'm sure another family is also wanting, if it's not for work, but like for just so they can go on a date night or whatever. So like she'll watch their kids and then vice versa. And so there's just, you can get creative with it, but make sure like, especially if if you feel like guilty for asking for help or hiring help just so you can get things done, or even just spend time for yourself. Sometimes if I'm caught up on work and I still have our caretaker, I'll just go like take a nap because I'm like, I need my mental sanity so I can show up and be the best version that I can.
Exactly.
It's so important for sure. Since we're kind of like on the theme of kind of like experiencing mom guilt and whatnot, have you ever experienced mom guilt and how have you kind of like combated it or got your mind out of it?
Yeah, so, yes, I don't know a mom who has never experienced guilt, and if you have, please come talk to me. So, culture has put an increasingly pressure on moms these days, and I believe it's because we've went from family-centered parenting to child-centered parenting. And that's what culture tells us. Culture tells us that we have to, revolve our lives around each child. Whereas like as a family, I know what we need as a whole, and that involves myself. So including myself in the priority. And, oftentimes for me, this is just what happens, and I'm just being honest, is when I am starting to feel guilt about maybe what I said or what I did or what I didn't do, I often tend to go scroll on social media.
Just like bury it.
Like bury it under the rug, like it's nothing. And then, I just keep scrolling and scrolling. And sometimes, like, there are things that I find that are helpful, and there are sometimes things that I don't find that are not helpful. And for moms specifically, I believe that we can go to him for parenting advice. Yes. And like I said, he's gracious, but he's also honest and true. Yeah. So when there's something that I'm feeling guilty about, and if it's something that the Lord convicts and lays on my heart, we have the absolute freedom to get rid of that and give all of our burdens to the Lord. But then there's sometimes that social media and people put these burdens on us that is not at all what Jesus is putting on us. So we have to be careful and distinguish, is it the Lord or is it social media and people? And at the end of the day, I'm always going to choose the Lord's direction and wisdom over people and social media. Oh yeah.
I think it's super important too, because like with moms, like we're experiencing the mom guilt and we feel this way and we're beating ourselves up because I think it's so easy to just like replay certain things. Like, like you said, like either if you feel like you got into your feelings too much and you like said something to your child, or you are beating yourself up, like you said, just different scenarios that could happen. And we have to remember that well, one, I heard in like a parenting message sermon thing that like a lot of times like small children, they don't remember anything. So it's like you cannot replay things in your head and beat yourself up. Obviously, forgiveness is huge. Like, oh, mommy had a moment later. I love you. Like, I didn't mean, I think that's really important. But also remembering that God, like you said, we are his daughter. Like he is displaying this type of, relationship for us. And he is someone who forgives. And so like, we're asking for forgiveness. He does forget it. And then he does not, he, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like he's dumb and he doesn't remember. Like he chooses to forget because he forgives us. And I feel like that's how we have to be as moms too. Cause it's like, you know what? Like, I've been forgiven. I'm asking for forgiveness in this situation, and I have to just let myself let it go and give it to God so I can move on, because I feel like a lot of times I can get in my head with certain things that I didn't feel like I did well. And this is my first rodeo at life in general. So it's like we're learning, and that's why we have to depend on the Lord, because he's the one that can help us guide through this life of being a good mom. Like I'll always say it over and over again, like, the best decision is parenting with God, because he's the perfect 100%. Father. He is the perfect father. He has the best parenting advice. And he's done it a time or two. So there's no other way than to lean on him and ask how to deal with these situations that have happened, but also lean into him, because he is the one, we can die to our flesh of our anger or like frustration. So when we're walking with him, not saying we're not going to slip up, of course, but he can help us have that patience and the peace and the control, because that's what he does. That's who he is. What about, have you ever experienced like guilt for loving your careers?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of it's time away from my children and my family. But at the end of the day, what the Lord has really spoken to me about loving my career and then also having a family, is like, I have divinely appointed you to be in this season. Maybe it's not going to be for forever, but there's a purpose in everything that you do. And so because I know that, I can serve God best in serving where I am at the time and giving 100% in honor to him. But I'm also doing it in a way where I can serve my family at home. It's a balance.
Absolutely.
So
when I first had my son, because I'm a wedding photographer, I had someone else shooting weddings for me while I was postpartum, and I was healing well, and I really wanted to be a part of this wedding. And I remember thinking, I'm like, there's no way. My son is only like 6 weeks old. I cannot do this. But I'm like, oh, I just really want to shoot a wedding. Like, I miss my job. I love my career. I love what I get to do. And I was also attached to this couple. I loved this couple. I wanted to be there, and I was internally battling with this so bad. And I did ultimately make the decision to photograph the wedding. And I remember being at the wedding, I was just glowing. I'm like, I feel like myself, like I'm doing my thing. But then I would be like, I'd have some low moments. I'm like, why am I here? What is wrong with me? And I think that's the hard part with moms, especially multi-passionate moms that have different, things that they love and they want to pursue their work. And so we feel guilty. But I think it's so important. Obviously, do not consume yourself in work. And that was something I had to do, to step back and make some adjustments with my business. But we cannot feel guilty for loving things that we love to do. Like, I mean, I don't want to say like my work is my identity by any means, but it's something that fulfills me, that I love, that I've been able to even like pour into brides. I've had a bride recently that I'm talking with right now. She had a miscarriage, and she reached out to me. This is like a client. She wasn't even a Christian, and she reached out to me, and I was able to pour into her. So it's like my work is a place of ministry as well. And I know in this season of life, like you said, like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly.
And so I think for sure we have to make sure we're not tunnel vision with our work, but not to feel guilty. And just quickly, like going back onto like the hiring help, when I had, I'm at home, but I hire someone 5 hours, 3 days a week to come in and help me. my mom always told me, she's like, don't feel bad about that. I mean, some people work 9 to 5s,
Yeah.
you know, and that's their time where they're getting their work done, and then they come home. Like, you don't have that. So if you need to hire help so you can get some work done, you know, don't feel bad about it, because it's something, like, we still have to pay our bills, especially in this economy. Like, we got to be working. So just to not feel guilty.
And it's in those moments, like you said, where you are fulfilling the purpose that God has for you in this season, in this time, that you get to experience those moments, like you said, with your bride. Like recently at my job, at my bedside nursing job, I took care of a mother who birthed twins, and unfortunately, one of them passed, and that the baby was in the room the whole time. But I had the opportunity to, you know, share the gospel with her and pray over her, and she also is not a believer, and it just like, you could sense like the hope and the encouragement and the love that she felt, even though she was suffering, you know. And it's just, and the thing is like, most of the time whenever it's in those like mundane moments, like, we don't really get to see, I mean, we plant the seeds, but we don't really get to see how they grow, how the plants grow. And so, like, you know, I still to this day, like, I pray for her and just hope that, you know, she'll really just lean on the Lord and really get to know Him to help her heal through this process. Yeah. And so, and those are like, gosh, those are just ministry moments for myself. I'm like, Lord, this is really hard for me. So, you know, help me work through this. Give me wisdom in what to say when I'm in these moments. And so it's just so meaningful, and the Lord is so good. He's so good through, you know, allowing us to love what we do, but doing it with a purpose.
Yes, and I think that's so important too, to be purpose-minded when we're in the workplace. Yeah. Because, I mean, those moments are everywhere, you know. It's just so strange, because you wouldn't think, like, as a wedding photographer, you would have opportunities to be over, you know, be able to pray for people. And, like, it's strange, because who would reach out to a wedding photographer about a miscarriage, or their child in, like, the ICU or whatever it is? Like, it's because, you know, the Lord works through these situations, and who we are as people, who you are as a person. And when people know, like, okay, they're a Christian, they have some sort of sense of hope, like, I need hope right now, they're going to reach out to people. So it's like, we might be placed in our workplace for a reason. And so using it as a ministry moment, like ministry purpose-minded, is just incredible and super, super important. With working, because, like, you're such a hardworking person, you have your 2 daughters, what are some principles that you hope to kind of instill in them just as they grow up and are older?
I would say the most important principle would be to know the Word of God. Yeah. I mean, He is our foundation for everything that we do. And then the second thing would be, no matter where you are, no matter where God places you, there's always an opportunity to serve Him. So find ways that you can serve the Lord in anything that you do, whatever it is. You know, it could be babysitting, it could be in art, it could be in makeup, in hair industry. I mean, whatever it is, make the attempt to always 100% honor and serve the Lord. Yes. Because He's given you that purpose, that divine purpose, and He's placed that, you know, on your heart. So just to give Him the honor back is just so extremely important. And then a couple of things, just like with people, like, because you're going to work with people. You just are. Just finding the time to be intentional with people, with your words, with your actions. I want the girls to live out their lives, you know, serving the Lord, and people seeing that, and people wondering, like, why are they so different? Like, they're just so joyful all the time. They're never negative, you know. And obviously there's going to be times that people are going to see that, but that people can, you know, that they have opportunities to share the gospel with people because they are intentional with people. Yeah.
So what does motherhood look like for you in this season of life, and what's your favorite part about it?
You know, you're you're not going to always just enjoy one thing about motherhood. You're going to enjoy like everything that you experience with them. I mean, the hard, the good, the bad, the ugly, like you enjoy it all. So, yeah.
I love that. Well, this has been so good. Seriously, like absolutely amazing. I loved having you and I'm so glad it worked out with your busy schedule. I was so excited that it worked out because I really, really wanted you to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
I love you, Sid, and I am so honored to be here today and to talk about all things busy mom life. So
well, thank you guys so much again for tuning in to another episode, and I hope you guys will stick around. We have a couple more episodes coming out, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube because this is not the end of the season. I will have a season 2 in the future. So thank you guys so much for listening in, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.